Hi, I'm LadyJenevia. Today's video is a review of the new Hulu series, The Dropout, starring Amanda Seyfried.
It's Seyfried.
As Elizabeth Holmes, the white-collar criminal who was convicted of fraud. She was the founder and CEO of a company called Theranos that claimed to have created a machine that revolutionized blood testing by being able to perform multiple tests on very small volumes of blood. I remember when this story was everywhere, and this was starting a couple of years ago when it initially began to pick up steam in the news. Before watching the press screeners for this new Hulu series, I had already watched multiple documentaries about this particular case. Hulu has requested that reviewers like myself who have this early access to the show not spoil the big dramatic moments for the masses that have yet to watch it, but what I will say, in a vague way of describing things, if you, like myself, have seen a lot of the documentaries covering the Theranos fraud case and the events that transpired with the company, with Elizabeth Holmes, with Sunny Balwani, and with different key players that were part of this story, then you will already have an idea of what is going to take place in this series. On a technical level, I think the show is very effective in being a dramatic series that entertains the audience and is able to keep our attention. There are great performers, solid filmmaking techniques with the way that it's shot and edited together, great scoring that sets the mood nicely. If you have followed this case, I think you will appreciate the attention to detail that the show has gone to recreate images and videos that you will be familiar with from having seen these different documentaries that go in depth and cover everything. The testimony video, inserting Amanda as Elizabeth into videos of the real Elizabeth Holmes interacting with very famous people that showered her with praise like she was some sort of visionary, when all she was another white-collar scammer. The show takes a slightly deconstructionist approach to telling this story, specifically in the sense that the earlier episodes take a bit more time to show their interpretation of who Elizabeth Holmes was before she became the person that most of us know her as today. A dead-eyed scammer with a fake voice. While we're here, shall we talk about the voice? Elizabeth Holmes adopted this persona, largely of her own making, of what she thought a successful billionaire CEO would look like. A lot of it came from copying Steve Jobs. That's why she was so obsessed with black turtlenecks. But she also significantly lowered the tone of her speaking voice. I don't really know why she thought this was an important thing to do. Maybe it's internalized misogyny, but I really have no idea. When the show introduces us to Elizabeth Holmes, we start off with her being a socially awkward university student that has not yet come up with the idea for Theranos and has not yet dropped out of Stanford. This show will premiere with 3 episodes being released at once, so when you get to see this premiere, you will be able to see Amanda do the creepiest things. She is acting. She is serving a performance when she starts to play Elizabeth, beginning to practice this fake voice of hers. It is some Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Stepford Wives level of creepiness. I wouldn't say that Amanda perfectly mimics Elizabeth Holmes, though. I think that if you were to perfectly recreate Elizabeth Holmes' mannerisms, it would come across as being so robotic and inhuman that a casual viewer unfamiliar with Elizabeth Holmes would mistake Amanda's performance as being bad. She would end up looking like a cartoon in the process. If there is any critique I have for the show, it would probably be some of the choices that were made about how they presented Elizabeth's relationship with Sunny Balwani. Like I said, I have watched a lot of documentaries about this case, and I specifically remember one of the subjects that was interviewed in the HBO documentary. They said that Elizabeth was the dominant personality in the romantic relationship between her and Sunny Balwani. She Henry made allegations later on once the law enforcement agencies started to crack down on her, trying to shift the blame onto Sonny. She claimed that he was abusive. Considering how she has been shown to be a pathological liar to such an extent that she was putting people's lives at risk, they show in the series they tried to do tests on cancer patients when they know this device does not work. That's the type of person she was. She also put loads of horrible people onto her company's board because they were famous and powerful. People, including but not limited to Henry Kissinger. So keeping all of that in mind, do I think her words are credible when she's trying to throw her ex and partner in crime under the bus to save her own skin? It's probably also further complicated by the fact that Sunny Balwani in the show is portrayed by Naveen Andrews, and he is a great actor. He commands your attention. He is no wilting wallflower. He is intense. He is dynamic. Just try to look away from him when he's on screen. I dare you. Oh wait, you can't. So being that he brings that amount of intensity to his performance, I think that it toes the line of making it seem like maybe he was a little too aggressive in the relationship, and I just don't feel comfortable making those allegations if it's going to in any way be used as a manipulation tool to try to absolve Elizabeth from the responsibility that she needs to take for her own actions. All I'm saying is I think that it's perfectly reasonable to maintain a healthy amount of skepticism when it comes to anything and everything that comes out of the mouth of the real Elizabeth Holmes. Another thing that made me want to fly through the air and do a Superman punch was this one part where they have a character, George Schultz, saying nice things about Ronald Reagan. Now, for context, since you might not understand what's going on if you're only watching this review without knowing anything about this case or the background information of key players, George Schultz was someone who joined the Theranos board of directors. Earlier on in his life, he was the Secretary of State for Ronald Reagan, that evil, evil man. There is a point in the show where this character is talking about Reagan, and he claims that Reagan just got caught up in the Iran-Contra affair, that this tarnished his legacy, and that he was a great man. Canonically, yes, I think it makes sense for this character to say that, but considering how historically and politically illiterate people prove themselves to be, especially whenever I dislike myself enough to open the Bird app, I feel compelled to pull out this line and outright declare my hostile opposition to it. A really astute observation the show makes in its analysis of what Elizabeth Holmes did and how and why so many people were brainwashed into wanting to support her even when there were a lot of red flags was that she would weaponize feminism and play into this idea that the glass ceiling needs to be broken and she's going to be the one to do it. While I am all for women getting more opportunities to have professional success, a scammer is a scammer, no matter what their gender is. You'll see this sometimes, for example, with war criminal organizations where they will act like they're really girl bossing hard because they're doing more work to recruit women to also be the ones to enact imperialist terror all over the world. There's a line in The Dropout where Elizabeth is speaking about one of her professors from Stanford, who happened to be a woman, and that professor had shut down Elizabeth's early ideas for the Theranos device because this professor knew that it wasn't going to work. So when Elizabeth is talking about this publicly, she says about this professor, "You would think women would want to help other women." That professor did not shut down the idea because she didn't want another woman to succeed. She shut down the idea because it was a bad idea and was not going to work. But for Elizabeth to go invoking feminism into the situation, it shows how whenever bad people invoke feminism and exploit it for their own nefarious agendas, it takes away from when people try to fight back against actual systemic injustices against women. It was really smart writing for the show to address this concept. I really enjoyed enjoyed how it was incorporated into the episodes that I was able to watch. At the time of recording this video, I have only seen 7 of the 8 episodes that will be making up this series. They currently do not have a screener for episode 8 posted, but my assessment is that the first 7 episodes were very enjoyable to watch. It's a very dramatic series, but that's really inevitable because what happened in this series of events was very dramatic. Stephen Fry is absolutely heartbreaking in this show. No spoilers, of course, but if you know what happened in real life, you will know what I'm talking about. When Dylan Minnette showed up, I went, oh boy, here we go. And again, no spoilers, but if you know what happened in real life with this Theranos case and you know who Dylan is portraying, then you will understand why Dylan showing up when he does is a big deal. I like that as the series gets further along, it becomes a bit more decentralized. Instead of just inundating us with Elizabeth's weird, creepy, and downright evil antics, we get to see the other key players in the story that were integral to finally bringing the truth about Theranos to light to the public. I hope that when this series comes out, if there are people who haven't already learned about this case, that those people will go and watch more of the documentaries out there and really try to learn from it and feel galvanized to fight back against the systems that allow people to do as much harm as they please, all in the pursuit of profits and feeding their own egos. If you would like to watch The Dropout, it will be premiering its first 3 episodes on March 3rd on Hulu, with a new episode being released each week thereafter. I'll say it right now, Amanda Seyfried deserves the hype that the creepy critics have been giving Lily James, you know, the actress who violated Pamela Anderson's consent by being involved in a show that Pamela never gave her permission to have her trauma being brought back up and turned into a media circus all over again. Let me not go on those tangents again, though. I have already said my piece on the abomination that is that series. Thank you for watching this new review. I already have a new video essay project that I feel very strongly about and will be working on. Hopefully it'll be up sometime in March. See you in the next one. Bye.